Hey, welcome back. I am on my way home. It's just now getting dark and we're almost to that winter solstice where it gets like the shortest day of the year, which is then when it starts building up back daylight. That's my time, baby. Just looking for that ending point to this short days where it gets dark at 4:30 and building up to the days where it stays light until 10 o'clock during the summer. But that's not why you're here. So let's just jump into why you are here. And that's to talk about how I plan to pay off $100K in student loans. My $100K, that's $100,000 student loan payoff strategy. That's right, $100,000. That's what my husband and I, between us, we have owed in student loans. Yeah, it's a big number. So first I want to just give you a little background. It's story time. I'll tell you how we got there. Then I'm going to go down the breakdown of what we actually owe. And then I want to talk about my strategies and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing now. And some of the other strategies that are out there. So story time. Once upon a time I was young and dumb and racked up a whole lot more student loans than I should have. I'm not saying that student loans are not a great and useful tool. They are if you know what you're doing with them. I personally had no clue. So, we're all taught the formula. Go to school, get good grades, get a degree, and then you'll get that job that's worth all that effort and money. That didn't happen for me, and I think it is not uncommon for a lot of millennials to say the same thing. It didn't happen for my husband either. But, it can be beneficial to those who know what their career will be. And you need that education to make yourself valuable in that career. That's who it's beneficial for. I had no idea what I wanted to do with my life. I sort of fell into insurance out when, it came time to get my big girl job. But I had no idea what my interest... I was interested in everything. So I had no clue how to pick one and run with it. Or what jobs would be viable for me, or what I even wanted to do for a full-time job. I knew I didn't want to teach. I knew I didn't want nursing, so I took some advice, which turned out to be not great advice for me, but someone said to do what you love. That was one of my teachers, said do what you love, and then you can find a career in that field. Well, I love to read. That's pretty much the only thing I love to do. I hated going to school. I hated math. Basically, I was just an angsty teenager and hated a lot of things, and I wasn't ready to decide what I wanted to do with my life. I loved to travel, but I was not a gregarious person. I was very shy and didn't interact with people very well. I'm still pretty awkward when I interact with people, but a lot better today than I was back then. So I just went for English literature because I love to read. I think that was a huge mistake. And I could go on and on and on in this story, but let's keep it moving. So I went to college. I ended up with some mental health issues because I had no purpose. I had no direction I was going in. I felt like I was doing all of this for nothing. I didn't know where it was going to lead me. And I felt like my life was on hold because of it. And I hated that feeling. I hated the feeling that I had to go through more schooling, which I already didn't like in the first place, in order to be valuable for a job I didn't know I wanted yet. So I did the schooling, but ended up going part-time after my second year. So what should have taken me 4 years to complete took me 6 years to complete. I also very adamantly wanted to stay in the dorms at our college, the college that was near. It's a university near where I live, Miami University in Oxford, Ohio. And we live in driving distance of there. In fact, they have a branch of their college in our city. And what I should have done was not stay at the dorms. I should have stayed at home. I should have gone to the community branch because it's the same valuable education and educators that you can get access to there, but for a fraction of the cost. But I was adamant and I was stubborn. And I said, I want to stay at the dorms. I want the college experience. It'll be different. I'll make more friends. Well, I didn't make friends because I'm an awkward person and I don't make friends easily, I feel like. So I became the weird girl in the dorm that never left and just was kind of odd, and I was lonely. And, growing up, most of my friends came from my church setting and they weren't at college with me. And my roommate had a boyfriend, and she and he were gone a lot of the time together. So I didn't really have anybody to hang out with, and I really felt that, and I didn't do well in that setting. So after one semester of staying on in the dormitories, which I so adamantly wanted to do, I came home and decided that I would commute from then on out. So I ended up commuting and going part-time, and for the next 4 years I went part-time to school, which added up to a total of 6 years of college for a degree in English literature. And because I knew I didn't want to teach, I had no idea what kind of job I could get with English literature. And really, if I can tell you that now, I really don't think there is a job besides editing, which is, not gonna be a great job choice for, since newspapers are going out of style, and I didn't want to write and I didn't want to teach. So it was a mess, guys. I could have done a whole lot of things different, and I wish I would have, but that's my story. And because I was in college so long, and I took out student loans for most of it because my parents were not wealthy, and we did qualify for some financial aid, but not a lot. So we ended up taking a lot out in student loans, and the grand total of which was more than $60,000, and I'll go over the complete total in a few minutes. So let's go to my husband's story, because his and mine kind of converge at one point. So when he was young, and we've been together since we were very young, and when he was going to school, he kind of did the same thing I did. He wanted to get a degree, but he picked a field that was actually a little more beneficial than mine, at least, in computer science, because that's what his dad did. He had a propensity for technological things. He still does, and he has an interest in it. So he decides to go for computer science. Well, it was a lot, and he decided he didn't want to do that anymore. So he transferred out of the University of Cincinnati and starts taking business at Miami University, thinking at least I'll be in business. Well, guess what? That wasn't his fancy either. And what he really wanted to do, because he is not an office guy, he is like a work with your hands labor guy. And what he really wanted to do was be a chef. And he'd always loved food, and he'd always enjoyed making food and picking apart flavors and that kind of thing. So he decided to switch careers once more and schools. So he finally ends up at a technical school for learning culinary arts. And that's really where he found his passion. And I mean, he already had the passion, but he learned the skills to fuel his passion. Well, in all this time, while we were both still at school, we got married because, again, I was too stubborn to want to wait. And I said, I'd rather get married sooner rather than later. Again, it's something that if I had it to do over again, I might do differently. But if you can tell, I'm not a very patient person. So we get married, and while we're both still in school, we end up with a pregnancy that wasn't planned. That's a whole other story, but we end up with a baby on the way. And Chris is like, oh, okay, well, I gotta provide for my family. So he starts looking around for a job in the chef world. And let me tell you, our small town in Ohio is not the epicenter of the culinary arts, but he did find a very good job. And he started his first real job in his chosen profession about 2 months after our daughter was born. So we have a kid. I'm still going to school. He has just foregone his degree in culinary arts to do the job in culinary in the culinary world to provide for his family. And when he was in school, he racked up at least $40,000 worth of loans in all that time he spent in school. And I could go on and on with our story, but we're going to stop it there because that is the important part for this video. That's how we ended up with a crap ton of student loans and only one degree between us. I did eventually finish my degree. It was a long, hard process. It is one of my most proud accomplishments, just simply because I didn't want to do it and I ended up doing it. But that's the only reason I'm proud of it. And I could go on and on about how I'm not going to say, yeah, well, you know what? It is not beneficial to me. It got my foot in the door at my current job, but that is really the only benefit I have gotten out of my degree so far. And if that doesn't tell you something that I paid $60,000 for isn't worth a dime, then I don't know what. Because it's not gotten me anything since then. Anyway, not worth the return, I guess. On to the next portion. That's our story. Now let's break down what exactly we owe in student loans. So I have 10 loans in total. You know, when you do student loans, they break it up into a lot of smaller loans. Both subsidized and unsubsidized, but you don't need to know about all of that. You just need to know that I had 10 student loans in total. Well, over the past years, since I've been in the workforce, and since the forbearance of, the pandemic and all of that, I did pay off one of those loans, and it was worth about $900. So now I have 9 loans left in the amount, let me look at my notes since I'm at a red light, in the amount of $66,088.87 with interest rates between 3.15 and 6.5. My husband has a grand total. He's got 2 loans through his provider, and I think there are smaller loans bundled into that, but they have them bundled their own separate way. He's got 2 loans totaling $33,033.20 with interest rates the same on all his loans are 6.5. Grand total is $99,122.07 owed today. And if you add in that $900 I paid off, that is almost very close to $100,000 worth of student loans. I make $40,000 a year. Right now, Chris makes $40,000 a year. If we were to live on nothing, and I mean nothing, and put 100% of our salary towards student loans, it would take us more than a year to pay them off. That's how under the water, I guess, we are on student loan debt. And I don't feel like that's an uncommon situation. I feel like there's many people who go out there and go to college with no idea what they want to do because it's what they're supposed to do. And they end up in a similar, if not worse, situation than we are in with so many student loans out there. And how does this affect us? Well, my debt to income ratio is very high. You've heard me talk about that before. It makes it hard to get loans. And guess what? It is a large mental weight on our shoulders because when you owe that much money, you feel it every single day. You worry about it every single day. So yeah, that's where we are with all of our loans. Now, what's our plan? Well, up until this year, I would have told you our plan is to pay that off as freaking fast as humanly possible. Now I have a little bit of a different strategy. My plan is to do absolutely nothing with these loans. And don't take this the wrong way. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. I'm telling you what is best for our situation and why. Right now, we are on an income-driven repayment plan. And we pay the minimum payment on that and nothing more. And the reason for this is we are changing our game. If you've watched some of my other videos, you will know that we are changing our game to make cash flow the most important thing in our lives. Well, how do you gain cash flow? Well, we have engineered it in the last couple of months to where we have no other debts other than our student loans. And we are, in that, we are, our cash flow is as high as it possibly can be. So why would I change my student loan plan now and pile more cash into something that is going to take me so long to pay off when, and this is the caveat, when I can be investing that cash flow in more lucrative opportunities and come out better on the other side in a year's time. So in a year's time, there's no way I'm going to pay off all that debt, right? But if I invest that cash flow that I have right now from having a low payment into our business that we're starting, then I could be making substantially more cash flow by the end of next year. And then the year after that. And at some point, I'm going to be able to pay off those student loans faster. So instead of slaving away, hustling, which is so prized in our culture, oh, I worked a 10-hour day today. Oh, I worked a 12-hour day today. Oh, I worked 15 hours today. I worked 50 hours this week. It is so hyped up in our culture that is something to be proud of. And I look at that and I think that is kind of sad. Unless you do what you absolutely love and you have no other commitments to your time, and that's what you want to be doing day in and day out, but you're also enjoying your life while doing it, cool. But for most people, we're doing it just to pay the bills. That's why I go to work every day. And I'm pretty sure most people would say the same thing. I love my job. Well, I like my job. I wouldn't say I love my job, because if it was up to me and I had no financial obligations, I wouldn't be at a job, right? I would be spending my time doing things that I want to do, like gardening and spending time with my kids and, DIY projects, stuff like that I really enjoy doing. I would be doing that, building businesses and stuff like that. That's what I would be doing instead of working for a paycheck if I had no financial obligations. So, we're doing absolutely nothing right now. What have we done in the past? Well, like I said, we have engineered our lives so that cash flow is the most important thing to us, which means that we refinanced our house to get rid of our car payment and get a lower rate on our mortgage, so that we lowered our mortgage payment, which freed up over $640 worth of cash flow every single month in our accounts. So that's $640 that we have to invest and spend that we did not have before. We have talked to insurance professionals and seen if we could raise our deductibles and lower our rates and make sure that our insurance is up to value. We have reached out to subscription services to see if we could lower our bills in that way. We have tried to conserve our energy costs by and not in a limiting way, but I turned my water heater down last month. I realized that our water heater was set way high, and you know how I realized that? Every time we were turning on our kitchen sink to do dishes, we were scalding ourselves. So I looked, and our water heater was up way high, and that doesn't need to be that high in order for us to use the same amount of hot water. It just didn't need to be set that high. So we've done all these things to make cash flow our priority so that we can invest it in other ways to make more money in order to pay that student loan off faster. Yes, it is our ultimate goal to be able to pay that off, but right now that is not my goal. And I hear what some people are saying, couldn't you consolidate? Yes, there are some other ways that may be beneficial to you, but were not beneficial in our situation. So I looked into consolidating a little while ago, and things may be different now, but I'll explain why I'm not looking into it now in just a minute. A little while ago, when I looked into consolidating, I learned that you can only consolidate student loans person by person. So Chris and I could not consolidate our student loans together. He would have to do his own, I would have to do my own. And what it turned out is that he would have interest rates higher than what he is paying today, and I would have interest rates about the same. Plus, our monthly payment would be much, much higher than what we are paying on an income-driven repayment plan with the government. So, why would I do that? Doesn't seem like a good deal to me. Also, if you consolidate your loans, they go to a privatized company, which means you no longer benefit from forbearance programs like what has happened in the pandemic. We wouldn't have had that benefit if we had consolidated our loans back then. So I am inclined to stay with what we're doing right now. You can see how it is beneficial to us if cash flow is our main goal. Now, if paying off our student loans was our main goal, then everything we would have would be going into paying off those student loans, if it was most beneficial to us to do that. It just so happens that it's not right now. So, this is what our student loan situation looks like. This is our payoff strategy for $100,000 worth of student loans. Right now, it is on the back burner because it is not our number one goal. Right now, building that wealth, that income is our number one goal. That cash flow is our number one goal, because when you start to get more cash flow, you can invest it in assets like businesses and whatever assets are out there, things that make you money. And when you acquire assets that make you money, that can cover your expenses, that's when you're financially free. If I could live my life just off of money that my money is making me, boy, doesn't that sound good. It does to me. So look at your situation, and I have a lot of videos on cash flow and why it's important and how to create it. Go check those out if that's something that's interesting to you. And again, I'm not giving financial advice, but get advice from somebody in the financial world if you think that your finances could do a look over. Now, I know people don't want to spend money on that kind of thing, and that's fair. But if you don't have a propensity for doing it yourself, if you don't enjoy budgeting or knowing where your money has gone, or it just it frustrates you to look at things like that, then maybe it's time to get an outside eye on it. You wouldn't look at your car. I mean, if you're not a mechanic, I'm not a mechanic. If you're not interested in that, and I'm not, I wouldn't open my hood and expect to know what's going on. I would get somebody in there that knows what's going on to tell me how to fix things. And it's the same with your finances. So that's our story. That's our strategy right now. And I will keep you updated as life goes on. But for today, that's all I got for you. I will see you all next time.